Hello, BookTube. Just a quick video here where I express a little disappointment about something that usually overjoys me, and that is the London Times Literary Supplement, the TLS. It's the greatest English language literary review in the world, and every once in a while, a couple of sour notes are struck, and I wanted to share them since they're book related. And this latest issue, of course, when you get an issue of the TLS, you look for. I read the whole thing, but you look for reviews of books that you yourself have reviewed. And I got to one of those, John Bue's Life of Clement Attlee, the Prime Minister Clement Attlee, which in America is called Attlee, but in the UK it's called Citizen Clem. And the TLS, Richard Toy reviews it for the TLS, which is great to see a nice whole big page of it. But I got to a part that annoyed me, and I thought I would share it with you. He writes, Bue, best known for his biography of Castlereagh, is not fully up to speed on the scholarly literature of this period, and there are some minor mistakes and omissions. Nevertheless, he provides a stimulating account of the Attlee government, which gives insight into its weaknesses as well as its strengths. Which might seem anodyne to you, but it annoyed me, because it's dirty pool, it's a cheap shot. Something I can tell you about the book reviewing world. There's no indoor sport that book reviewers, especially nonfiction book reviewers, prefer over gotcha. They love it, of all things. And if this reviewer had examples of John Bue not being fully up to speed on the literature of the period, or making minor mistakes or omissions, this reviewer would have listed them. At least one or two. Instead, this reviewer got to word 1,000 out of 1,500 and realized I haven't said anything negative about the book, and I didn't want to just sell it, so I'll say something general, something that can be said about any scholarly work, and that'll be that. But I read the book, and I didn't notice minor mistakes and omissions, other than typos here or there. It's annoying to me as a reviewer for another reviewer to talk down to me like that, and I can only imagine how annoying it is for the author of the book to read that in the most prominent review the book is going to get. And surely John Bue's reaction, if he reads this review, will be to say, lay out your case. Give me specifics. What did I get wrong? It's a bit annoying. And so I turned to the back of the TLS, which is the NB column, written by JC. And there was another cheap shot. I'm going to read you this again. This is Robert Silvers, one of the two original editors of the New York Review of Books, has died age 87. Few could claim to bestride the literary world of the past half-century while writing scarcely anything, but Silvers could. After the death of Barbara Epstein in 2006, he took sole control of the Fortnightly Journal and died, so to speak, in the editor's chair. The esteem in which Silvers was held by his authors, most of whom were distinguished in their own fields, proves one thing beyond dispute. Good writers enjoy good editing. Expect a slew of stories along the lines of, quote, Bob rang me while I was canoeing up the Amazon to say he thought the ellipsis should be 3 dots, not 4. He commanded deep loyalty, but only the innermost of the inner circle were blind to the recurrence of names and themes in the table of contents, leading to the impudent nickname, the New York Review of My Friends. As Silvers entered his 80s, there was inevitable speculation about a successor, with no firm answer forthcoming. And that is the extent of the notice of the death of Bob Silvers, a great editor and a great patron of critical writing. Idiosyncratic, yes. Temperamental, yes. But and with his own tics, show me an editor who doesn't have them. But first of all, the nickname was the New York Review of My Friends' Books, not My Friends. But worse than that, what is the minatory tone of that last paragraph? That only the innermost of the inner circle were unaware that regular names cropped up in the NYRB table of contents? They were the most aware, not the least aware. It wasn't a religious cult. It's annoying that the TLS, which is not exactly a young periodical, can see an absolutely astonishing literary record like that And that's how JC decides to summarize it. Maybe they'll do more later on in future issues, but it's still annoying me. But worst of all, let me get you to the worst part of all. Some of you may remember in an earlier video, I talked about how David at the Poptimist did a wonderful, positive review of Min Jin Lee's Pachinko, her historical fiction novel, generational novel Pachinko. And I mentioned at the time that I found the novel boring. And told you to watch his video anyway because he does a great job reviewing it. And then I saw in this issue of the TLS that they review Pachinko. And I thought, well, I feel sorry for David, but, you know, the TLS is a dim view of the made-up stories as it is. And then I read the review by Fran Bigman. I'll read you a couple of very painful passages. Lee employs a straightforward prose and linear structure, relying for effect on the drama of her immigrant narrative. She sweeps us along, skipping nimbly over years and into the heads of her characters. Whether they are noble and long-suffering or morally compromised, Lee provides rich, textured, sympathetic portraits. And then the conclusion. A beautifully realized saga of an immigrant family in a largely hostile land trying to establish its own way of belonging. They agreed with him, not me. Which is bad enough as it is, but you know what else that means? It means I'm going to have to go back and reread Pachinko. I'm going to have to crank open my mind and read it again with fresh eyes. Very annoying when you reach my age and state of pomposity. I just thought I'd vent. And now I feel much better. So I'll let you go. Thank you, Book 2.